All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 100 Proof Whitetails. Nate's taking the night off to hang out with family and get ready for Turkey Day tomorrow. So, we got a real special guest tonight. A good buddy of mine, Caleb, who is also tagged out this year, was nice enough to bring down an absolute slammer that he shot in early bow season and tell the story on that deer, some of the stuff that went into that, how many years of history, and then the other buck that he's got just out of frame is the one he got just the other day with the rifle.
Yes.
Yep. Nice. Nice. So yeah, so I guess housekeeping stuff with us. Hat sales all good. We gave the blind away to the youth and everything like that. That the guy that won it decided to give it away to one of the youth viewers, so that's what we did with the blind. And other than that, just getting stuff prepped for late season for us. Um, Getting ready to go back over to our lease this weekend. Me and Nate are, and see if we can get him a buck over there with his gun, and then Nate'll be tagged out, and all be good. So, I guess we'll start it off with maybe give a little introduction about yourself, Caleb, and
Yeah,
where
my
you're
name's
from and all that stuff.
Caleb Shoemaker. I'm from Phelps. Born and raised here. Yeah, do most of my hunting around this area.
Hmm.
Just been a die-hard hunter since I was, well, before I was old enough to hunt. My dad and mom going out and grandpa, and used to really enjoy sitting out with them, being real young. And then when I was old enough to get out there on my own, just couldn't be out there enough.
Yeah. No, and we met at the running show. He came up to us when we were scoring deer, and that's how we, I guess, first met. I think. And Caleb's really a real humble guy, down to earth guy. That's why one of the reasons why I like him so much, and hard working, why I admire you so much. And it's no slouch to shooting big deer, dude. You've killed some really nice deer, so
Yeah, a couple of the early ones were lucky, just putting the time in, but
yeah.
it has come around to putting in the work and the effort and
Hmm.
seeing that pay off now.
Yeah. So I mean, this deer is the biggest one by far we've had, probably on the show by quite a bit. Um, maybe even age wise. I mean, how many years did you know about that buck?
Well, he's been a real solid 10 point for the last 3 years, so I'm assuming that he's probably around six,
Six,
just
seven,
because
yeah.
I would say he was at least three in those first pictures when I was identifying him regularly.
Hmm. But that deer, you gave me a call because Caleb's also colorblind. Seems like a lot of my friends are colorblind that I know. I get
Have a
asked
hard
out
time
on
seeing the blood.
asked out on a lot of blood trails, but um, so Caleb called me when he said he shot a good one, and actually shot it in that little 100 proof plot you put in, right?
Yeah, I put in a few little kill plots or whatever with the 100 proof mix
Hmm.
this year. Well, the last couple years trying to get him, this year I had to do something different.
Hmm.
I tagged out early on other bucks. Um, the year before this year, I mean, last season was the only year I've ever ate a tag really by the end of the year. And I was waiting for him.
Hmm.
So this year I was all real serious about putting in pretty much 100% of my focus on this
Yeah,
deer.
and it didn't take you
And
long.
now, first actual set of
Yeah.
I went out one other morning in the downpouring rain and just sat in the blind for a couple hours because I couldn't work.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah,
So.
just a couple little kill plots, and this one was actually right along just standing cornfield, a
Hmm.
little tiny strip. I, the farmers didn't plant right up to the edge of the hedgerow, so I went in there and bush hogged down the weeds and
Yep.
tilled it up. And
Cleaned up a little bit of the headland area and stuff like that, and just threw a little kill plot, just a little feeding corridor. Really, is what it was when we went in there to track them that night.
yeah, the does that were ahead of him, and when he came out, just nibbling up along the edge of that.
Hmm. Yep. And I mean, your setup was you know perfect textbook, and you shot him out of a saddle, right? You said wasn't a pre-hung set.
Yeah, it was my saddle.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
I think the last 3 bull bucks I got have been out of that saddle. I've really been enjoying it. Just easy, light.
Well, and you got a little bit of a variable where you can, move over half a dozen trees or whatever and still kind of hunt that same spot.
It's definitely nice to have that flexibility, but also it's sometimes the way I look at every tree, and I'll be sitting there for an hour trying to figure out which of the 2 or 3 trees I need to be in for that exact wind or whatever. But yeah, definitely nice to have the flexibility to do that.
So, and it was, so I remember you coming over and we talking about it. We actually pulled that full body mount that I got out and we're talking about the shot angle and everything. And I'm like, if you put it right where you put it, which you ended up putting it exactly where you said you put it on him, I'm like, that deer's going to be dead. Like, I don't think he went, 100 yards and he didn't end up going 100 yards. Now, not saying it was an easy blood trail, but I don't think he bled at all because I think he didn't start bleeding until 15, 20 yards before I found him.
Yeah, the shot was high, no exit, and
he was close.
Yeah, it just probably wasn't going to be a whole lot of antecedent blood anyway. But then that rain that rolled through, it's always fun when
we gave
rain
him.
Comes.
We gave him probably at least 2 hours, I would think. I think after you shot him or so before we went back in there.
About 3 hours. Yeah, at least probably about 3. So.
Yeah, because you went home, got something to eat, and I got Nora fed into bed and stuff like that. And yeah, it's probably about 3 hours. But yeah, it was taking that step back and kind of, I call it kind of Indian tracking, for a better lack of a term. And we were going off broken branches and sticks and kind of the way that
had decided that we would go up to the point where I last heard him, which is about 60, maybe 60, 70 yards from where I was sitting. And once we got to there, we would have rethought our plans, but that's about right.
No, it was, it was. I'm going through this little kind of honeysuckle pocket, and it's like almost perfect hollowed out for, Caleb showed me the picture, and I knew kind of the caliber of deer that it was, and I could see like fresh, like good size, like thumb size branches broken, like a deer blowing through there, big hoof prints, um, and I think it was your brother that was behind me. Your dad was on one side of the field. You were kind of out on the other side of the field, trying to see if he
checking the edges of the
checking the edge to see if
listening to see if he was going to get up and just in case.
Kind of walking the edges and trying to see if he ducked in or out of this hedgerow he was kind of running back into, and finally I found like a speck of blood after probably about 40 yards from the shot. But this took us, I don't know, 45 minutes to find that.
Oh, yeah.
Like we
spent almost an hour going.
We were
yards.
we were going super slow, just being methodical because I didn't want to lose anything. I know we had just got rain, and
it was kind of sprinkling.
Yeah, it was kind of sprinkling mist while we were out there with it, and we got in there and I found it, and I found that first drop of blood, and it was good. It was good, like really bubbly, like a good solid amount. And I was like, okay. And then your brother was just about to yell to you, and I said, okay, so hold on, before somebody comes running in here and something might get messed up. I said, let's take it a little bit further. And I think I went maybe another 4 or 5 yards, and then I shine the light up through that honeysuckle hole that I was kind of crawling through, tracking him, and I see his belly and his rump sitting there, and obviously his rack sitting up over the top of his belly. And I was like, "Oh, he's right there. He's dead." And then I called over to you, and he'd been dead. I think he literally, when you heard that last noise, I think that was him literally piling up.
I think he went down right there.
No,
that's where I last heard him.
No.
He was tearing through that hedgerow.
Yep. Yeah, breaking all those branches and stuff. And I think he almost freaking died, like on the run, the way he kind of looks like he skidded out where we found him. But he dressed, what was it,
228?
228 dressed. Yeah, the deer was big.
Heaviest one I've had on my side. I've done a couple right around the 200-pound mark. And 210 was probably the heaviest before him.
That's a big deer. All of mine have been under 200. I haven't shot a buck that dressed over 200. They've all been 190, 170s, high 170s, most of them. Especially once you get into November, they start, dropping weight. But he was like, what, October
4th.
I was going to say 5th, but yeah, 4th. So yeah, he was full on fat. I mean, he hadn't lost any bit of weight. He was living high on corn and soybean and.
Yeah, I don't think he never moved much because
Mm-hmm.
we hunt. I know the guys that hunt the blocks around where I hunt and everything, and got all kinds of cameras everywhere. I hunt pretty much all those blocks around.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, that's how he got so big. He didn't
No, he was
he
just
didn't
kind of
travel.
a
He
little
hung out.
pocketed up here. No, and that's sometimes how they get so big. Just living in a little block that he's got enough of everything, and short of maybe going on a little jaunt. Because
Yeah, we'd have him
was he
down.
was he the one that you said kind of disappears and then comes back in like December? Or was that
So
a different buck
he's
you were telling me
the
about?
days he traveled was obviously when they all do that first right around November 1st, like October 29th to November 4th,
Mm-hmm.
really for the last 3 years he was active up and down both ends of this block, looking for noon.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the pictures daylight pictures would be noon, 1 o'clock. He'd be up and down. Um, but other than that, he didn't move a lot, and he'd be there, but he wouldn't be on. He wouldn't be on the cameras off like
Mm-hmm.
regularly,
Yep.
and it would be months because the last time I had him this year was I want to say beginning of August. Had him in velvet, maybe later into August, and then just disappeared for 2 months. I mean, I have an idea where he was over on
Mm-hmm.
the neighbors, but
Yep. Not any
just
place you had
not
cameras
on
or
ours.
anything.
Which I mean, the farm I hunt is 90% standing cornfield,
Mm-hmm.
so he could have definitely been in the corn more than
Yeah.
can't get pictures of him in there.
Right. Right. But no, and that's a good tip for that midday cruisers. I've killed a lot of my bucks between like I call it between 10 and 2. I kill a lot. I've killed quite a bit of my pre-rut late October, early November bucks between 10 and 2 o'clock, 10
Mm-hmm.
a.m. and 2 p.m. Seems like those big guys like to get up midday. I think to check those doe bedding areas because they know the does are back in at bedding and they just kind of cruise them because they know all the girls where they're going to be at because they're bedded up for the day before they go out to feed in the afternoon and kind of bounce from bedding to bedding. But
Yeah, so I got real excited when I got his picture that morning on the 4th. I do have some cell cams out. I know you don't use cell cams,
that's all
but
right. Yeah.
um, yeah, I got that picture. It was daylight, like an hour after legal shooting. Probably he was coming right into this little point with a couple does. There were like 4 doe with him.
Mm-hmm.
He was right behind the 4 does, which is a little unusual probably for October 4th, but
Mm-hmm. Moving
using
into
them
that
as a
little
blanket of cover.
yeah, look moving into that little block of cover the way you kind of explained it, to me. I think that's just because there's not other than the corn, it's kind of like one of the only bits of cover, in that immediate area other than the corn.
Yeah, and just the history I had with the property, I figured that's where I would see him. I
Mm-hmm.
remember the first year I ever hunted that property. It's probably almost 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Opening day. This is before I knew really what I was doing with hunting. Opening day, I saw a monster buck standing out in the bean. It was a soybean field, and I just remember his rack being as wide as the soybean, like
Mm-hmm.
biggest buck I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Out in the corner of this field where I ended up getting him this year.
Yep.
But just kind of knowing that first week of October. I mean, now thinking back, I'm remembering all the times when I'd seen bucks in that area. And I did take another nice buck one year with my bow on that same point of cover.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was a half rack. He was a nice buck with just a half rack. He'd just been
Yep.
fighting with another buck in that area.
Yep.
So that's why I kind of honed in on that one particular field this year,
Yep.
knowing.
Well, you knew he was in there. You had the history with him.
Put in all the work in the off season to have other
Yep.
little spots ready everywhere in case he showed up, but knowing
Yep.
that corner and what he liked to do in that corner,
Yeah.
kind of was able to make it happen. But yeah, when I got that first picture in the morning, my brother was coming over because we were gonna work all day,
Mm-hmm.
mow lawns for a
Yep.
living. So
Yep.
we're gonna mow till dark. It really was my plan. I usually mow dark to dark, and when I got his picture, I told my brother Nathaniel, I said, "Get out there and unhook the trailer. We're going.
Yep.
We're going over there right now."
Yep.
And then I kind of thought about it for a minute. I was like, well, the way the wind's going, getting in there. He's got all those does ahead of him. Let's get the work done, and we'll go out there this afternoon.
Get a late sit on him.
Better chance of getting him coming out in the afternoon where I think I want him. Just figuring he would hang out in that area all day. Yeah, so we got out. I didn't get out there real early, maybe 2.5, 3 hours before dark, and had a couple ideas in my head of where I wanted to maybe set up. I tried. My first plan was to sneak up through the corn and sit right in the corn, maybe 30 yards from the corner where I thought he'd come out of the bedding cover and cut around the corner of that cornfield and come up the 100 proof strip. So I started down into the corn, and it was just like way too loud. It just wasn't going to happen. I wouldn't have been able to get anywhere near him. So probably 20 yards in, I decided to turn around and come back, and then had like 2 other options, and then I decided on the safest. The safe that was like early in the season, first week, first set. Just gonna play it safe, see if I can at least see him. Like get eyes on him down in that other corner, a couple hundred yards from where the trail camera was, where I got the picture. So I just set up on that far hedgerow, looking down there, and I was probably still setting up some of my gear, and the does started popping out like halfway down. So 80 yards up from where I thought they were bedding, they were actually in the hedgerow up closer to, which worked out real well that I didn't go through that corn, because if I didn't go through the corn, I would have been walking right past them, and would have been out of the game anyway. So it worked.
Yeah, that first doe blowing, he probably would have knew the jig was up.
So I set up my sticks and got up in the tree, and I listen to hunting podcasts all summer long when I'm mowing. So I pick up all these different little tips and stuff. And this year, one of the new things I tried was vanilla extract, like mixed in water.
Yeah.
So I sprayed everything down with that.
You're probably too young to remember Vanilla Killer.
No,
you don't remember that? That was a cover scent or whatever. It was Vanilla Kill. I think it was Kill with an A.
So as serious as I am with hunting, I can't get into the scent control stuff. I wouldn't enjoy it. Hunting
just play the wind.
A chore, and it would. I'm too OCD with everything. It would just drive me nuts. And I just can't beat their nose 100% anyway. So I just play the wind.
Sure.
But I did spray down with that stuff. So I think I like it. We had a couple good sets. And a couple of my other buddies this year have been trying it. And haven't had as much blowing when they get down with you. They smell, and they turn around and get out of there sometimes, but not making a big stink.
Yeah, downwind is downwind. It doesn't matter if you're ozone, ozonics. It doesn't matter, dude, what you're running. I've ran it all. It doesn't matter. I mean, I spray down and I try to be as scent free to minimize my scent signature, but you're not going to eliminate it.
It definitely helps with like future hunts and how long the scent you're leaving in that area is going to dissipate out of there. Like, for sure that helps a lot with that. And I try to be as careful as I can without getting crazy and getting changed at the truck like you're doing everything. But, you gotta do what works for you.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more OCD, dude. All my stuff's in scent-free totes, changing in the woods or whatever. But
I might be more OCD than you. That's why I don't do it. But so the does came out, and 80, 90 yards down from me, came right up to the corner where I'm sitting, just perfect, and started getting almost to my downwind, or getting to where I walked in. And they hit that vanilla scent that I left, and then started taking it into the corn where I'd started making my way through the corn. So the mature doe was pretty alert, and they never picked me off or anything. Just followed it into the corn, came back out. They were looking around, trying to figure out where I went.
Trying to solve it out.
And I just decided, we're gonna go back that way we came. So then they just walked back straight away from me down the corn, past where they had popped out, and I decided to just a couple buck grunts, light grunts. Just I like to do that when the does kind of get out of there but aren't making a scene, just to try to make
it seem like that might have been.
Maybe he was pushing them or like getting them. I didn't want the buck to think that there was danger, There's something over there. You shouldn't go over there either. But
no, I like that. I like that idea.
Just a couple light grunts. He probably never even heard me or anything, but then I saw another deer come out down there about the same spot, maybe 15 minutes after I saw the does, and this is still at least an hour before shooting light, I think.
Yep.
Got my, I don't think I had my binoculars. I think it was just my rangefinder I looked through just to see him down there, and it was him.
Yep.
It was just like too good to be true. I hadn't seen him in the 3 years of trail cam history. Had not seen him in person. The only person that saw him in person was last year. I brought my cousin, first time hunting, never hunted before. First year, I'm taking him out. He shot 5 times of this deer last year during rifle season.
Yeah.
They were cutting the corn that day, and we both set up. I was like one field over. He was over there, and they just started unloading now. So I had to go over and see, and it was a huge buck. And then we got the trail camera pictures, 100 yards after where he had shot at him, and he looked fine. And
yep.
It's like, you saw my buck? I've been after for 3 years. Yep. So this is the first time I'd seen him, and it just seemed surreal. And he turned right towards me and started walking right up the line, right between the corn and the hedgerow, just nibbling away on that 100 proof.
Yeah, and you got a little video of him too when he popped out, kind of.
Yeah, I got a little lazy. Should have set up the whole camera arm on the tree and everything.
Yeah.
I was trying to be as quiet as I can, and when I got that metal arm, I do with the ratchet and everything, kind of clank it sometimes.
Yeah.
I had the GoPro right there, but battery wasn't charged enough.
Yeah.
I had great video of the does that came in, but I think I killed the thing because 30 minutes of filming the does or whatever. Yeah, and then so I thought it was. I pushed the record on the GoPro, but it wasn't recording. So I had my phone. I took a video of him where he came out, and then kind of slowly worked up towards me, and then when he got to maybe 50, 60 yards, I said, okay, time to put the phone down.
You got enough little looking at him.
Yeah, got that little memory of him on the phone.
Yep.
I can send it to my buddies so they're not.
Yep.
And that's why I started getting into the filming, because people won't believe some of the stories.
Yeah, no, that's kind of why.
Some of the stories you tell, and so if I have proof of it, here it is.
Yeah, that was that's why I did the filming, and why on Snapchat I used to Snapchat every buck I would pass every year because people weren't believing. I was like, yeah, it's that's number 15 before I shot my buck with the bow or whatever it was. That year. This year I think it was like 6 or 7. I didn't see that many bucks. But yeah, that was the same thing. People were like, "Oh, there's no way you're seeing that many deer," and it's like, okay,
yeah,
one. Next hunt, maybe might have seen another 1 or 2 or whatever, but
opening morning, I got rifle this year. I had 2 bucks come lay right under my stand. The one stayed there from 9 a.m. till like 3:30 when he got up a little 80-inch 8-point, just right under my stand. I was filming them, a bunch of them, but so I got that little clip and just he was looking right at the corner where I was sitting, but never looked up at me. And he would just take 2 steps and stand there and stare for a couple minutes, and 2 more steps.
Yeah, just being a big old buck.
He wasn't in a hurry. Got to 30 yards is when I drew. Just coming straight at me. So I drew at 30. And then he's just going real slow. Finally gets to 20. He's at 20 yards, straight at me. And the way the does came, they came straight up and then turned towards the corn. And they would come up and feed on the corn once in a while too, and get broadside. And so he's at 20, and it felt like I was holding, how it is.
Yep.
It felt like you're holding for an hour.
Yep.
But it's starting to get a little shaky, and he's just still straight on, no shot at all. And then another buck popped out where he did, started raking the corn back there, so I got his attention, and he turned all the way around, looking at that guy. And I wanted him to like step around, but he wasn't stepping around. He was just reaching around like they do when they're licking their tail or something.
Yeah.
Just all the way stretched around, but shoulders still like right in line with me. And I'm thinking about letting down. I don't want to let down because of how close he is, and I was kind of skylit in the tree I was in, and I didn't think I'd be able to redraw again if I let down. And I didn't see him. The amount of time he was taking, I didn't see him coming close. Like it could have been another 5 minutes before I had a shot.
Right.
So as he was stretched all the way around there, I thought I could feed it right behind that front shoulder and get, liver and then everything behind that.
Yep.
He'd be dead. It might just be a waiting thing.
Yep.
And I have my last few bucks I've shot further back than most people like to, probably. I think I had an experience or two in filming with other guys. Last year, I had two buddies just dead right in the shoulder and didn't get the penetration and reflection stuff like that. So I'm afraid of the shoulder. But I thought I could get it in there, get the liver, like one long liver. So I took the shot while he was stretched all the way around like that, and just heard a loud crack. Just really loud crack. He took one leap into the hedgerow. I saw the arrow fall right out. Starts tearing straight away in the head. He took off like he was hit hard, but my initial gut reaction, I'm usually pretty calm when it's like time to kill. I don't get I get more worked up on deer that I know I'm not going to shoot, and then I get all shaky. But so I was just like, well, I'll have another shot at him another day. I thought for sure it just stabbed him in the shoulder, and that was it. So I was texting you, texting a few other buddies, and well, I saw him. I got to shoot. And, and then just waited till dark. Got down, checked the arrow, and it was broken off. So as he took that step to get out of there, he broke
sheared
off
it off.
Measured it up with my other ones and got about 10 inches of the arrow in him. So that I got excited then. That's when I started getting excited.
Yeah, that's when, half hour, 45 minutes after that, you get over here and we put it on the decoy or the full body mount. And we start looking at it with 10 inches and we're like, dude, if you got 10 inches, like, you should be in the money. I said, and I remember telling you, as long as you're not too high and up in that back strap, which I didn't think you were because the way it broke off.
It came in pretty high, but it was also, I was pretty high in the tree. And it was like 18 yards or something or so when I shot him. So it was a pretty steep shot. But been using those Ramcat broadheads for probably about 10 years now, and I love them. I mean, gotta keep shooting them now, especially. After
I can't remember. Did we find the broadhead in them? When we gutted them, we did, right?
Yeah.
You found the other half of it. Yep. I can't remember if it hit a rib or what it did on the backside right off. I'm trying to think, because I wasn't there when you skinned them out.
No, it didn't hit the rib on the other side. I think it was facing too at me to get the ribs on the far side, but it definitely got one long, looked like right around the top of the heart, like those main arteries right on the top of the heart.
Yep. So did you
got a little liver.
Did you punch through a piece of the shoulder blade with that Ramcat?
Yeah. When I cut them up, when I butchered them, that flat shoulder blade, and then it's got that ridge bone that comes up. On the top of it, and I took pictures. It went right through. Oh, you got one right there.
Got one where it didn't make it through. It's not mine.
Yeah.
Just watch that. Watch that broadhead.
Yeah,
it's the opposite shoulder though.
Yeah, mine came down right through the middle of this.
Oh, no kidding.
Through this and through that. So it like came down at an angle through this.
Must have hit it just square enough. Yep.
Punctured right through.
So that was a neck hit deer, and that's the opposite shoulder. Guy shot him on the ground facing at him, and it went through the front of his neck and hit the other shoulder. Yep, hit the back of his shoulder. And that was how we ended up catching the trespasser that shot the deer. Was his broadhead in the deer.
Got his fingerprints on
Yeah, pretty much. Well, DEC officer went there and said, "Hey, is this your broadhead? This your deer that you shot?" Yeah. Oh, well, this is the second buck you shot this year, so here's a ticket.
it. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the 10-pointer over there. That's Hacksaw or whatever we call him. He got poached because the second buck that guy shot that year.
Oh, so they let you have them?
Educational purposes, yeah. I knew the econ officer, and he couldn't believe it when we found him. I was like, well, I heard that guy shot a Big Ten, and he had shot a 7-pointer 1 or 2 days before that. Called the same neighbor to track both bucks after they'd found the 7-pointer. And he called him. He's like, dude, he hit a big 10-pointer, and they tracked him, never found him. Well, then I find him dead, and I can see the wound and stuff, and nothing had touched him. He got really bad infection, ran him down, killed him. Just because coyotes hadn't touched him, nothing touched him. Like he was just like kind of melted into the ground when I found him. And I was looking at him, and I called the DC officer because he was a buddy of mine, and I didn't know if I needed a carcass tag for him or whatever. So he came over to give me a carcass tag for the deer, and just to sign off basically that if I post a picture of him, I didn't shoot him, I found him dead.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you know what? It'd be something because I guess he got called on it. He said it'd be something if that guy's arrow is still in the deer because we can't find an exit hole. So we're literally doing an autopsy on a rotten deer, which I would not recommend. And he's cutting around, and he hits the bone here, and you can see where his knife. He was kind of cutting away as we were, trying to peel it away, because we figured that's where it would have gone to, because you could see basically like a whole wound channel on that buck, and that's where it came up to, was that shoulder. So as we, he's hacking at it, trying to cut it up, and that's where he buried his freaking K-bar knife right through the shoulder blade as we were trying to cut it off, and it went pink, and then it went ting, and he goes, "Uh-oh," and we freaking just peel it back nice after that, and sure enough, my freaking Rage broadhead sticking right there in that shoulder on the opposite side for that buck.
Yes, those Rage guys, huh?
Well, I mean, from where he hit him in the front, dude, you would think that deer would have been drilled. That was a straight front-on shot on the ground with a crossbow. You know, trying to make it do something that if it was a rifle, the deer wouldn't have probably moved. Probably would have dropped him. But just crossbows aren't rifles. They're a great tool and they're a great weapon. I know Bo Hunt watches this, so I'm sure he's going to be really thrilled about this comment. But the crossbow, and he's going to probably say that I'm the crossbow shooter because I've killed a couple deer with a crossbow.
I love my crossbow. I just never get to that part of the season, it seems like.
No, but yeah, that was a crossbow that the guy tried to shoot it like a rifle, and they're not made to do that. They're a great tool, for killing deer. They're a killing machine, but they're still a bow. It's still archery equipment. But a couple comments came in. My wife said, "What kind of hunting, Caleb?" That was bow season and was vertical bow, obviously, but your saddle setup. I mean, that's kind of the hunting setup. Bo did comment, said, "Wow, what a buck!" Yeah, it's we did put a tape to him, and Caleb can pick him up and show him to the camera for you guys a little bit. I'll let him pick him up and show him. The deer's got a cage, man. I mean, it's the biggest deer that we've had on the show, and mine and Nate's look a lot bigger than that one does on the screen. But don't let that thing fool you, dude. That's exactly what you got to do. Show them where this deer is.
With these matching little points off the back.
Yeah,
here.
Yeah, the little kicker tines off the back of the twos. And you said he was a 9 last year with kind of a weird inside point.
Yeah, he didn't have this guy, and he was, I can't remember if it was here or here.
Yep, gotcha.
Like a 2-inch little point.
So
there.
we did stretch a tape to him, and I'm pretty sure it's the biggest bow typical I've ever measured. This is green, and his gross, he went 166 and 7. And I knew he was going to be 60 that night when we found him.
It's like a half green, right?
Yeah, he's probably about halfway dry by now. So yeah, halfway green. And you even said he's probably dropped a little over an inch and a half in his inside spread already.
Yeah, from the spread I measured it, and what you did tonight is about an inch less at least.
Yeah, because almost I want to say his beams look tighter than they were that night when we found him too. Like this tip to tip spread looks looks tighter than it was. But yeah, this deer is, I mean, longest tine was this set was 12 and an eighth, 10-inch threes, 9 and change on both of these guys. And the deer doesn't have a mass measurement under 4. He's got one measurement over 5. I mean, the deer's just built to cage and score phenomenal. 24 plus beam on the one and almost 26 on the other one. You know, the deer's just an absolute freaking giant.
One of the darker racks too that I've shot.
Yeah, I've noticed that some of the earlier season bucks, they're not.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I think early, and then like obviously what they're living in. I mean, you get like some of those big dark pine woods bucks that don't see a lot of sunlight. They just lose color. One based on some of their genetic and what they're eating, obviously too, but a lot of it's just based on the amount of sunlight they have. You see some of the guys that are hunting like big swamp bucks, where it's all sunlight all the time and there's not much shade. The antlers are a lot whiter, like ivory color. Yep. Same thing. Why the longer a shed sits on the ground, the whiter it is. More seasons it usually gets white until it gets mossy and green. But yeah, I've noticed a lot of the earlier season bucks are dark or big dark woods like hemlock, pine woods, and stuff like that. You get that dark too because they just don't see the sunlight to bleach them most of the time. But Bo says, can you run through your saddle setup? Like, what are you using for your stick, saddle, platform, etc.? What's your gear breakdown on your saddle setup?
Well, I have a Cruiser saddle.
Okay.
Cruiser XR, I believe is what it is.
Is that Trophy Line that makes the Cruiser?
No, Cruiser's its own
brand? Okay, yep. Gotcha.
Yeah, I really love it. Been really comfortable. Got two of my other buddies buy them so far. They try it out. My one friend bought one of the better Trophy Line ones and Trophy Line.
I think it's Trophy Line.
Didn't like it. Tried 2 or 3 other brands, just weren't comfortable. There's a lot of extra stuff that didn't need, wasn't comfortable. So it's been the best one so far from the ones I know people trying. I'm sure there's other great ones out there too, but
yep,
I had no complaints. Had it for probably, this will be my 4th season with it, I think. So yeah, that and the ropes that comes with. Then for the sticks, I've got Muddy Pro sticks. Got a couple different. I got some of the 3-step ones. I got some of the 2 with the rope. I like those. They're quiet. There's no like metal.
Yeah, no buckles
or anything like that on them. So I do need to replace the ropes this year.
Yep.
Notice some fraying.
Yeah.
Happening there.
Get some time on them.
Yeah. So those sticks, I usually bring, depending on where I'm going to go, anywhere between like 4 and 6 sticks. I like to get high. I like to climb in the branches of trees. I'll sit. I mean, gun season, I'll climb right to the top. But with a bow, somewhere between 20 and 30 feet, I'm usually up there. And
so for your sticks, do you use like an 8er step or anything like that?
No,
like a rope 8er or anything? Just straight stick?
I've never tried one. I know they would help a lot with the weight. I can just see trying to get down in the dark, quiet. I
twist and catch.
I'm somewhat coordinated, but I don't want to be twisting an ankle or
hanging upside down from your stick. That's what I always worried about with one of those. I know a lot of guys run them just on the bottom stick. Some guys run them on their bottom stick, like just one stick to get an extra, foot up or whatever you want to call it for that first stick. But
yeah, I'm just under 6 foot tall, and with 4 sticks, I can get about 18, 20 feet pretty easy with 4 sticks. So.
Yeah, that's what I usually run is I think 4 when I run my mobile setup or whatever.
My favorite setups for the saddle are preset and like the screw-in steps. I like having those, especially at different permission pieces. Just having a couple trees all ready to go with that, and I can just climb right up. I like the deer can't see a big ladder or anything. It's just other hunters can't see, because that's another thing is even this property I got him on, there's at least 6 other guys that have permission
to hunt it. Yep.
And that's just how it is with all my pieces. Even the little 5-acre pieces I hunt, there's at least, and if it's not other people, I mean, I got 5 of my own relatives that
Mhm.
I take out or let hunt these places too. So
Yep.
there's always a lot of competition. So to have those screw-in pegs really
Yep, they're
kind
not
of
as easy to pick
hides
up.
the tree, and I don't use a platform actually. Just stand on my top stick.
Mhm.
And I have a XOP hang-on stand that I was using before the saddle, and I still use it sometimes for
Mhm.
like if I'm going to do an all-day sit. Sometimes I'll bring both. I'll bring the stand and the saddle. I'll
Mhm.
use the saddle, stand on the stand.
Mhm.
But I didn't the platform. I bring that stand and set it up. If I was going to bring the platform, that's kind of how I look at it.
Yep.
One day I
Gotcha.
might have one just to
Yeah, because
see.
I know a lot of guys are going with those micro platforms or whatever now to
Hmm.
stand on. You know, they kind of
But
strap them in.
I found like with a good pair of boots, just standing on the top step, you don't want to do it in sneakers. It
Yeah.
would kill the soles of your feet. But a
Mhm.
nice pair of boots that got a lot of ankle support and
Mhm.
come up the back of your calf halfway.
Yeah.
I'm good for. I've done all day sits in the
Mhm.
saddle, just standing on the stick before.
Yep. Yeah. No, I've never got into the saddle thing. I've actually never even put one on. I mean, the closest I've come to putting one on is my tree stand harness, I guess. Which I guess there's not much difference in them really. A
The
couple
biggest problem
extra.
I've had is getting out to the tree and then forgetting that didn't put my saddle on and having to go back to the truck to get it. You
Gotcha.
just don't even know it's
Yep.
like it. Just strap it around one buckler on the belt and two between the legs. Just really quick
Basically the
attach.
same exact
Just
setup as a
do a
safety harness.
blindfolded. Yeah.
Hmm. And then with so the setup, it's got like a, because again, like I said, I've never, I don't know if we've even had anybody on to talk about saddle hunting, but it's got like your top line or whatever it's called.
Bridge, I
Your
think,
bridge.
is what you're
Okay. Yep.
talking about. It goes
Yep.
from side to side. Yeah,
Hmm.
and you can adjust that. I mean, they're very adjustable depending on
However
who
you
you
want
are,
to
your
set up
style,
and.
or whatever. And I do it different times of the year. Like with a rifle, I like having a real tall bridge, so and that usually means less pressure on your hips too. But
Hmm.
I can use that as my rest
Rest.
rest
Hmm.
point, like between the tree and the bridge. You can really lock in a
Hmm.
good
Gotcha.
position with that. But
Yep.
yeah, up and sometimes with a bow, you don't want it as high. You want it lower just so it's not in your way for
Hmm.
drawing and your string and everything. But
Yep. Gotcha.
yeah,
That's interesting.
very versatile.
Yep.
And then also for climbing the tree, just have your lineman's belt that goes around the tree,
Hmm.
and I keep it tied to this side all the time. Clip on this side,
When you're going up,
unclip around, put it in there, and so it's just
just a
real easy
process.
for safe, being a lot safer climbing up the tree
Hmm.
too.
Yeah.
Try to stay tied to the tree as much as I can.
Yeah. So Hans comments in said the shank and sole of the boot is a huge difference maker for comfort hunting off the stick. He said, "Nice buck."
Yeah, definitely. Because I have gone out just in sneakers like after work sometimes,
Hmm.
just didn't have my boots with me, and yeah, it hurts your feet.
Yeah, I'm sure if you don't have that nice like sole support or whatever, like a steel shank almost or something in the thing, I could see
Yeah,
how
I
that
got
stick
some
would just
Irish
grind in
Setter
it.
boots that I really like that
Hmm.
work well. But yeah, even muck boots aren't. A rubber boot or a muck boot aren't great. And
Yeah,
they're
without that
good for
shank
an
support.
hour or two, maybe, but
Hmm.
yeah, you gotta have a real firm
Yeah,
boot.
yeah, but yeah, no, dude, it's definitely a nice buck. The biggest one we've had on the show or whatever to talk a story about. We've definitely had some 40s and 50, but I think this is the first one we've had the nudged over the 60 mark that came on for the show for sure. But yeah, I mean, he just built the score, dude. He's 10 frame, great points, and he's only probably going to have maybe 5 inches of deductions, six maybe total, maybe 6 inches of deductions, not even. So he's still going to net like 160, which is nets are for fishes. But I mean,
Yeah,
dude, the
I don't
deer's
care about the net.
no nets are for fishes, dude. That's that's crazy. It's crazy. Bo says, yeah, foot fatigue can be a killer on a saddle, especially on the edge of a platform. Take a look at Crispies. I've heard that those are good boots. He said they're awesome. Yeah, I've heard that's kind of like they're like a hiking
Thing.
crossover type boot, I think.
Mhm.
Yep. So yeah, I've heard those are good boots for sure. And you can use those bow and shoot your crossbow right out of the saddle with your Crispies on. Just because I gotta bust his chops a little bit. But but yeah, dude. So your early season prep, everything like that came into play with that deer, and just the years of history. Um, and other than like you said, just having that most recent information, knowing that he was in that bedding that morning
Yeah, that
was
definitely
huge.
helped.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't have done it without that intel. I was kind of waiting. I usually have all my cameras spread out across I probably got about 7 or 8 different places that I
Mhm.
hunt regularly, and this year I kind of pulled all the resources in and
Yep.
put a lot more, put a
Yep.
lot more cameras and everything
Yep.
in this area to try to get it done.
So I'm always curious of this with bucks coming into food, and also at different times of the year. So this is obviously early season, so pre-breeding season. I guess what direction, as he was coming in, what direction was the wind blowing like to him? Was it blowing like across his body, kind of across his back, toward his face? What kind of wind was he working with coming into the setup?
It was, yeah, it was pretty much blown from him to me,
So
so
wind to
pretty much
back,
his
pretty
back,
much.
and that's why he was so focused right ahead of him. Like he was
Really picking it
definitely, he was
apart.
checking with his eyes. He was checking in the hedgerows with his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think he's just felt safe along that edge of that field enough that he would come up to that corner and then decide to get out of there. Like
Yep, move whatever way.
never hunted that, you know, maybe a couple of times late season when all the corn's down. I've sat in that general area, but
Mm-hmm.
never gone in there during bow season or anything to that point.
Yeah, and I mean he's coming down thick band of cover, and he's just
Yeah, it's a wider hedgerow. Like,
yeah,
was it 20, 30
maybe
yards
20
wide?
yards wide. That one
Yeah,
that he
20 yards wide.
came down along, and then but I mean the planted swath you had wasn't even maybe 6 8 yards wide,
Yeah,
if
we
that.
did like 2 or 3 passes and I
Yep.
covered.
Yeah. So yeah, 6 8 yards
It was pretty,
wide,
yeah, it was pretty much over his back, maybe quarter,
kind
like
of in that back
like a
hip.
northwest wind. And it was a nice steady wind too.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid it was going to get a little swirly. It was right in that like 5 to 6 mile an hour, right in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just enough to be steady, but not. Sometimes when the wind gets more than that, it can swirl. Like it gets more
Yes.
gusty and
Pull back.
blustery and swirl, but
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
it was just enough to
Mm-hmm.
keep it going the right way.
Yeah, so and then like for example, like the buck that I shot with my pistol, Dono, he came. I guess we'll go through both bucks I shot. The one I shot with my bow, he came in similar to that wind, like on his back quarter, coming into that. It was a small food plot along that ridge, but he came into that using his eyes, and then wind almost covering his backside, kind of deal.
Yeah, I don't think he was gonna go. He wasn't gonna go much further than he did,
Hmm.
like that way with the wind at his back.
Hmm.
I think he would have.
Yeah.
He was probably getting ready to turn west, and going to the wind that way. Because I
Hmm.
know where the neighbor hunts on that other side of that hedgerow. He's got a couple stands, so it would make sense for him to come up to this corner to wind those 2 stands the
Yep.
neighbor's
So
got.
almost using his knowledge of the hunting pressure, the typical hunting pressure out there, to the way he was using that spot too. That makes a lot of sense. And then the buck that I shot with the pistol, he was kind of coming into the to that plot. I think more to scent check. He was kind of hitting it, kind of crossing into like the front corner of his face as he was coming into it. Um, just different times of the year. I think, especially if they're coming into a spot, like you said, where they're using their eyes more to use that spot, they're going to come in with almost like a tailwind or something crisscrossing them. Versus if they're like scent checking for breeding season, looking for does, they're going to kind of hit that wind with a crosswind more. I rarely see a buck walk wind straight to his face. I just, especially a mature buck, I should say. Older
Yeah.
bucks is I don't see him walking wind in the face.
Well,
Is what I've
they
kind of
like to
noticed.
make use of all their senses,
Yeah,
and
try to be as bulletproof as you
if they're
can.
using their eyes and the nose for the same the same thing. They're
They're giving something up.
Yeah, they're giving something up behind them.
Yeah, for sure. Bo said, "What was the seed mix of seed in that small food plot he planted?" That was the 100 proof mix. So that is um, tillage radish, purple top turnip, uh, crimson clover. There's and then 2 hybrid brassica species that are in that. This year it was the jackpot and the Vivint turnip was the 2 hybrid varietals in there. I played with the mix a little bit the last couple years, and I finally got it where I want it. Um, so that's going to stay pretty solid as long as I can still get the same varietals for that mix year to year to year with it. So, um,
Yeah, and they've definitely been eating on that quite a bit because
mm-hmm. You've got that on a few different properties.
Yeah, it wasn't like knee deep or anything by October 4th. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen it since that day, so I don't know. But it looked like they've been browsing it. It was all pretty chewed off.
Yeah, it's
little bit there.
Yep,
but and some of the other plots, like now, are knee deep. Mm-hmm. Like real good looking.
Yeah, we haven't had as many frosts, as we would have, that would have slowed them down. Like I got stuff that I planted like Labor Day that's like really freaking stout, dude. That typically wouldn't get that big if we would have had frost by, let's just say, 3rd week of October or Halloween or something like that. And we just haven't had that the last few years. So even getting these plots in Labor Day time frame or mid August, you're in great shape to get some really good plots, and you almost get too mature on some of those brassica plots when you get them in like end of July or mid July. I think they just get a little bit too woody. So, and they don't get as palatable, or the deer don't use as much of them, and they might rot. I found better success planting them mid August is what we typically shoot for.
Yeah, I think I got them. It was right around August 20th, I think, this year when I got my stuff.
Something like that. Yep.
I do notice they like that brassica stuff once we get the snow. Like when you get a couple inches of snow down. Yep. I got a lot of cool pictures of him last year, and that was before I had the whitetail, 100 proof whitetail.
Yeah.
But another brassica blend I had.
Yep.
A lot of cool pictures.
And it's it's honestly, dude, it's a lot of the same mixture. Same mixture meaning same varietal type stuff.
Yeah. Well, I really like the clover that you got in yours that's been coming up through. Like,
yep. Yeah, and that'll be a nice little amount of clover. One, you get some tonnage with it this year, and then that'll come into like spring turkey season. It's phenomenal. That'll piddle out probably sometime in June-ish. Typically, you'll see it go to head. It'll be really, really, really red and crimson out there.
Yeah, I was sitting over one of the plots the other day and noticed a small buck picking through. I zoomed right in on my camera, and he was picking for that clover. He wasn't hitting the brassicas at that time, but he was picking through, getting that clover out.
Yeah, I love that clover. And then I got all the seed out there. I just got to get it bagged up now for some of these guys that have planted the brassicas for a couple years and got their weeds in good control and stuff like that. I got clover for this year's spring mixes or whatever that we're calling it for the clover and chicory blend. Debating whether I want to do one that's just clover or have it all just be. I think I'm going to have it all be clover and chicory blended. Kind of cover all the bases with it. So we got the spring mix, and then people have been asking me to come out with different seeds, but I can only afford so much to play with before because I'm sitting on like $2,000 worth of clover seed right now. So, got to get some sold.
Well, I'll be needing some for the spring, but not that much.
No. That's what I said to my dad. I said, if this folds, I said, I got clover for the next 15 years of us doing food plots. Just have to keep germ testing it. Nate says, congrats, Caleb, hell of a buck. I've read and witnessed a majority of the time more mature bucks enter an open area with the wind to their back, will stage on the edge and assess the area with their eyes and radars twisting ears.
I wouldn't consider this to be really an open area.
Yeah, no,
either, but no. Yeah, I see that too. Even with does, like they'll come out on the side of the field that the wind's blowing from the woods to the field
Mm-hmm.
more often on days the wind's blowing that way.
Yeah.
And alfalfa fields and everything.
Yeah. Nate says it seems to hold true for year round. And if it checks out, they'll enter the field or feed or check those wherever they are, whatever they're there for. Yeah, I mean, I've seen them kind of. I've seen one buck in particular this past year. I literally watched him for a half hour. The deer did not move. Um, I think it was October 27th, maybe, which was funny because our number one buck was only about 200 yards from me on a camera with a doe, and I had no idea the whole time. But I'm sitting there, and it's good south wind for that stand, blows it toward our pond. And I see a good buck come kind of down the hill in the one bedding area through the thick, and I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good buck. So I see his beams from here, and it's a pretty good sized 6 point that we've had on camera for the last 2 years now. I'm thinking he's three, he might even be four. He came down, he worked like two scrapes kind of in the edge of the bedding area, and then he gets where he can. I'm pretty sure he can see that field, and he's just staring at the field. He's got the wind dead to his back, and he's just standing there staring at the food plot. And he stood there, and I'm watching him with the binoculars. I'm filming him, everything. He stood there for 30 minutes just watching that field, just standing there,
That's why it's so
just
important
standing.
to sit still when you're
Oh yeah.
up in the tree.
And there was times I'd put the binoculars down. I'd been watching him. He's probably only maybe 50 yards from me in the tree, and I put the binoculars down, and I can't find him in the bedding area with my eyes. And I was just looking at this deer, just kind of scanning to see if there's other deer coming off the hill or coming into the plot or in the plot, and nothing ended up coming. And then eventually he just kind of turned. I was watching him when he did it. He just turned and he just walked away. But it was like 28 minutes or something. It was just short of 30 minutes. He stood there without not moving, just watching the field. And I was like, wow. I was like, people say that, and he was up, hour and a half probably before dark. Um, he must have just missed it, by a couple minutes because after he left, about 5 minutes later, about six does rolled out or four does rolled out on the field after that. At six, about 10, 15 minutes later. And then I'm thinking the buck that I jumped walking out that night was probably our number one. After I look back at camera pictures, which is funny. I got the pictures, the video is awesome of the deer. He's walking a doe, like I'm sitting in a tree and he's like 200 yards, kind of in my downwind, but not really, because the wind was kind of southwest that night, and he was kind of southeast of me. So I don't know if they caught my wind or whatever, but
How many yards downwind do you feel like is where they start to get you or worry
oh
about it?
jeez,
I mean, I've noticed it
I would rather him.
400 yards sometimes,
Yeah,
but
yeah. If it's a good dead steady wind, and they can pick that, especially like on a field edge, like if they're downwind of you, like if you're like on a hedgerow and they're downwind of you and the wind's kind of blowing like this, they could pick you up 300-400 yards off. I've seen them do it. As soon as they pick their head up and start acting like something isn't right, it's because they smell you. You know, in that type of situation, if you're looking at it. Now Nate had a situation, this past uh, week where we were trying to talk through it, and I think he was just getting a funky thermal pull with the way because he's like the doe wasn't downwind to me, but she was like smelling me, and I'm like, I think you were just the wind was going the way that it was supposed to be going, but I think it was hooking back toward that pond because it kind of drops down to this pond kind of behind where he was where that doe was, and he's like, she was down there, he could hear her and see her and stuff. She just wasn't having nothing, none of it. So I think it was just the way the thermal pull around sometimes funny too,
oh yeah,
and drop it in on them.
just takes a couple seconds of the wind going the wrong way and
Yeah, yeah, 100%, and just going wrong at the wrong time, literally. And then I have a spot that I sit a lot, and I've killed a couple good deer or shot a couple good deer out of it. I've only killed one of the deer I've shot out of it, which is funny. Um, it was bad luck for a while. I was over 3 on shooting bucks out of that stand. I freaking whiffed a giant 8 out of it. It was probably, I don't know, probably mid 40s class, maybe even 50. Whiffed him, shot right over his back. He didn't drop a freaking inch. And shot Outlaw out of that stand the year before I killed him. and then I smoked a buck in the shoulder out of that stand. So I was 0 for 3 until I killed bud out of that stand. But that stand is really cool. It's like straight southern exposure, like kind of at the bottom of this hill. And if the leaves are all off, so it only works in like November and December when all the leaves are off. But if you have like one of those like bluebird sky, like sun rising mornings, it's cold, and you know the temperature is going to warm up, it warms that bottom. And if it's a fairly calm wind, you can literally drop your milkweed and it goes up like an elevator chute. It's so cool.
And those are the fits where you don't want to get in an hour or two before sunrise. You want to get in right at shooting light. You don't want your set not pulling up for that couple hours to sit before.
Yeah, because otherwise it just floods the bottom. So I've had it in that spot where the thermal will go up, it'll catch the wind from the top of the hill where it rolls over, it'll take it out, and then it'll settle. And then I've had it literally do that, and then had deer run back toward me after it goes out and settles to them. They run
over there.
Just think they're smelling me over there, and it's blowing back around, which is just funny the way the wind and thermals can do it. Food is food this time of year, in my opinion. Best food source and low pressured food. 100%. That's the name of the game, dude. That's where most of the deer are going to be, does included, and what bucks are still hanging on. We're pretty smacked. I mean, a lot of folks in the neighborhood, which congrats to them. They've shot some really nice bucks this year. Our age class took a whack, but they always seem to slot back in, dude. But low pressured food is going to be king. We actually just brush hog and rolled down some of our corn today. Yeah, and this is the other thing that me and Nate were trying to figure out with that doe too, because I've seen them blow it. When a buck will come in and pinball a bunch of does and they don't know what exactly spooked them. I've seen them blow before.
Oh, I've seen them blow it random. So
Yep.
Squirrel falling out of a tree,
cats,
or just like
house cats. They hate house cats, dude. But yeah, but no, like I said, that would have been a good topic for tonight. But yeah, you couldn't see that doe, but he didn't know maybe if there was another buck that was in there pestering her or something else that she was just blowing at too. That's always possible. I've seen him blow at some weird things. I've seen a freaking, and this is no joke. I got a video of it on my old camcorder. I'm watching this pileated woodpecker, like peck on this branch for like I don't know 5-6 minutes, and then eventually pecks enough through it so the branch falls off the tree. The branch falls, and then deer like were out. I was filming the woodpecker because it was funny, and the deer blow and run away because the branch fell in the middle of the woods and spooked them.
Had some turkeys go up to roost a couple nights ago, and one of them broke a big branch off and it fell right in the middle of the swamp. There weren't deer to see if they were blowing, but but yeah, I've seen them blow at that. I've seen it where a buck will run into a group of does, pinball them, run into a bedding area where I can see maybe some does bedded, and then they get up and blow because they don't know what came in there, busting them up or whatever. I've had that happen, so it's tough to say. But when you got that head pickup and they're licking that nose and stuff like that, that's usually indicative that it's a smell thing that is the reason why they're blowing. Wind in the air.
Yeah, they're trying to pick that up and stuff. That's usually it. Derek tuning in from Idaho. If you're home, you're in Idaho. If you got off the river, you might have been in Montana. But good evening, guys. Hope y'all are having a good night. Just got off the river and fishing was awesome. Yeah, dude, you've been freaking pounding. He's been pounding some phenomenal fish out there the last few weeks. But he shot a great buck, actually, out in Idaho. Heck of a story. He grunted. The way he thinks it happens, he thinks because there's not as high of a population density there in Idaho where he is, he saw the doe, and when she was getting spooky to kind of put her at ease, he grunted and actually started pulling the doe, like, because he kind of bumped her and she just kind of spooked off because she wasn't sure what it was. Grunted, she started coming back, and then he realized that there was a buck with her. Buck came with him, and then boom, shot the buck.
Yeah, I always like to throw a couple little grunts out anytime I bump a deer. And knows I didn't get my wind or anything. But
sound bump or something like that.
Let the other deer know
Yep.
Maybe it was just another deer.
Yep. That, and I use we talk like this all we've talked about this before on the show. Me and Nate have walking like a turkey, like walking through
Mm-hmm.
open hardwoods, scratching your feet around, maybe doing a little mouth call yelping or something. Because turkeys are not quiet in the woods, dude. They are so loud. Like, it's amazing that more of them don't get eaten by stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because you usually can't hear what's going on when turkeys are rolling through a woods, especially 15, 20 deep or better. It's loud. But yeah, Derek killed a great. Forget Derek, was he a 9 or a 10 pointer? I think he was. Phenomenal buck, dude. I mean, especially for Idaho. And you want to talk about dark chocolate antlers? Yeah, like really pretty buck. Um, but actually, his elk season 10 point. I thought it was a 10 point. His elk season is just about getting ready to start. I think it's the muzzleloader elk season out there is getting ready to start. So yeah, that guy.
Oh yeah, it's got like little white tips on the antlers.
Yep, yep. Shot him in that slushy snow. So heck of a story, dude. And I was freaking pumped for him. Actually, I think he used. Did you use that grunt call, Derek, that I left you out there in Idaho when I came out hunting with you last year? He said he grunted him in. I wonder if he grunted him in with that grunt call I left him. Probably grunted him in with the good old Walmart grunter. But Tom says, "Good evening, guys. Enjoying some Larceny A124 tonight. Hoping for some good movement after the snow tomorrow. Um, yeah, I think it's going to be a phenomenal front. There was a bunch of deer out feeding tonight on my way home when I was driving around. Um,
Yeah, hopefully some of the snow will stick till the afternoon tomorrow.
yeah, we'll see. I
Depending
mean,
on where it is.
I think we're slated to get the snow up by my parents like at 8 or 9 o'clock. So might be one of them where it starts a little bit tonight, but most of it, I guess, for up there in Wayne County is not going to be till tomorrow morning. But um, yeah, we'll see if it's going to be our first snow. I think we're at a record for the Rochester airport that they haven't had snow yet this year.
Yeah, I heard that longest
Yep,
window of days without snow.
yep, yep. And the latest without a flake or whatever too. They were saying. Um, Here we go. Comments are rolling in now. Derek says I think it was good. Good that because they don't make that grunt call anymore, dude. I tried. I almost bought one for $50 on eBay the other day because one of mine freaking the wood cracked on it. Like it just dried out and cracked. So it's an all wood call. It's freaking sounds so good. Um, if you have any experience with anxiety, you might have a better understanding about how a deer's brain works constantly in fight or flight, and everything is out to get you. Yeah, pretty much. About sums up a deer's brain. Not as much as turkeys. They're more anything like just runs away. I found it in my hunting tote and thought, huh, where the hell did I get this grunt tube? Glad I put it in my bino harness. Yeah, it's that hooks grunt. I don't know what they call it, but it's the Hooks Custom Calls grunt tube. They're a USA company. I think they're out of like South Carolina maybe or something. But they're specialized in turkey calls, but their deer grunt calls phenomenal. This one's pretty good too. I think this is the one that Gooseman Game Calls makes. This one's pretty nice too.
Have you ever used an electronic grunt call at all?
Mm-mm. Not legal in New York.
Pretty sure it is.
Mm-mm. No electronic calls for deer.
I thought we looked that up.
Not that I
Better
know
look it
of.
up again. I
I
thought we
don't know.
looked it up.
Because I know you can use them for predators. Can't use them. I don't think you can use them for turkeys.
No, I know you can't use it for turkey.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, but yeah, I'm glad you put it in your vinyl harness too. But Derek only gets one deer tag out there, so that's what you get. Derek says muzzleloader elk starts December 2nd, so hopefully you could take. Yeah, he's got a piebald cow elk out there that he's been chasing for a couple years. So
That's pretty.
yeah,
They're pretty rare, probably.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and she's big now because I think he's had pictures of her 2 or 3 years now. that she's been more than a calf. So, yep. So, yeah, good luck to you, dude. I didn't see it when I was out there with him, but he showed me some pictures he's got of her. She's pretty. She's really pretty. Not like she doesn't look like the Holstein or something like that, but she's got some cool splotching. 3 years. Yeah, I thought so. I thought so. But yeah, that'd be really cool. And I mean, that valley right where he lives, they got everything. They got bear, elk, deer. Uh, I can't remember if they got muleys right there or not. Not right off, but whitetail, pretty good whitetails. Turkeys, turkeys are like freaking uh, varmints out there. Nobody wants to shoot them, dude. They're just like dozens of them everywhere.
Send some this way.
Yeah, I know, dude. Nobody hunts them out there. I think they can kill. I forget what Derek told me one time. I think they can kill like 7 or 8 birds a year, and nobody hunts them. But mountain lions. I mean, there's mountain lions out there. Um, yeah, it's a different world out there, dude. It's a little bit different walking around in the woods when there's freaking bears and mountain lions and shit out there. Wolves. I mean, you name it. We got all that stuff out there in Idaho. Fun stuff. Yeah, you can shoot 7 a year. That's 7 turkeys a year either. Sucks. It's a different world out there. Fishing and
You get a
everything.
lot of sleep.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful out there. Their season's pretty long too. I forget. I looked it all up. They got like I think their season's almost like 2 or 3 months out of the whole year. You can hunt turkeys out there off and on. They got like different zones and different times. They're really split up. I thought we were difficult in New York with all of our WMUs, but theirs are like really specific, like season dates for this zone and that zone. This one's in season in this zone, but not in that zone at this time, and a
Yeah,
lot of
after
different
listening
stuff
to
going
some
on.
of the other states, New York actually has some pretty straightforward, simple stuff.
Yeah, northern zone, southern zone, pretty cut and dry. Other than like our antler restriction spots and our holiday hunts in September season. Actually, I think holiday hunt season or statewide for the southern zone. Anyway, but well, I think that's pretty good. Just over an hour, which is where we like to be, is right around an hour. So,
Just got a picture. The other target
oh
buck
heck
just
yeah!
got shot by somebody.
Oh
My
bummer.
neighbor got him.
I thought that was one of your buddies that shot him.
No,
Sorry, man.
he was a nice 3-year-old, 11
Yep.
point that
Yep. Hey.
related to this guy.
Yep. Yep. Well, unfortunately, man, it happens. But well, sorry we couldn't talk about your rifle buck. I'd have you back down to talk about that. And want to also thank him. He brought over some jerky, which is funny because I just did a batch today. Caleb said he just pulled a batch out and started another batch. So,
Got some on the dehydrator right now.
yep. Yeah, mine's on the dehydrator. I got to pull it out and bag it. It's been air drying the rest today. So, yep. Yep. So, second week of September till the second week of December for the A and B Panhandle elk tag, which is where he is for elk season or whatever. So, yeah, they got a couple months up there, and then the muzzle loader. So, it's pretty cool, man.
Probably why they don't turkey hunt as much out there because they got the elk, and it's a
Elk
kind of a
and
similar thing with the
elk,
vocalization.
yeah, elk
If
and
you're hunting an
wolves.
elk, why would you need to hunt a little turkey?
Yeah, well, that and they got a lot. Not many people really whitetail hunt out there too. More folks that hunt out in that area where they got them more, gravitate toward the muleys or the elk and stuff like that than whitetails. A lot of guys don't screw around with the whitetails. He's killed quite a couple really good bucks out there. I think Lightning Creek. Does that sound right, Derek? Where he shot that your best gun buck out there? That was like a 12 point. That was a really nice buck for Idaho. But, yep. Nate says, okay, Nate, get these last comments out of the way. It just rolled in. Going back to the doe story, that doe was blowing, attracted a younger buck that went toward the blowing, which also makes me think that she was blowing at some rut activity that I couldn't hear. That's possible, you know. Buck rolling in because see what's going on because he knows that's a doe over there. Yeah, dude, that's.
Yeah, don't give up just because they're blowing.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of deer after
Mm-hmm.
year one blow.
I have too. Bo says, have a great Thanksgiving, guys. Good luck for the remainder of the season. May your shots be true and your blood trails be short. Thank you, Bo. Appreciate it. Hope you got your hats that I sent out to you in the mail the other day. And yeah, I'm gonna let Caleb get back home. I'm gonna get my daughter to bed, and then I think my wife wants to decorate more of our Christmas tree upstairs. So that's what I'm doing the rest of my evening, and then Thanksgiving with her family here tomorrow at the house is our plan. So yeah, Derek says Granite Creek was where he shot his best whitetail. Lightning is where he shot his best mule deer. I knew it was something like that. See, so Bo says check your Instagram messages. I will. I've been running around busy. So Derek says have a good Thanksgiving. Thank you, Derek. So Caleb, thanks for coming on, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sharing the story, and heck of a buck again, dude. 166 and 7/8, so almost 167. So we'll get a official tape on him once he's all dried out here in another. He's only got probably another 30 days or so. It's halfway green. So, but yeah, dude, that's gonna be a heck of a hard one to beat for a bow typical. You know.
Have to start searching for the next one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Start picking it apart. I'm already starting to look at a couple of the up and comers that have made it through the first 2 weekends of gun season now, and we'll see what bucks we start lining up to chase. We still got one shooter at least that I'm pretty sure is still alive. The other one's been kind of MIA for probably 3 weeks now, so we'll see what happens if Dad can line up with him or another one of the bucks that might move in. And then there's been a rumor that there's a really nice 10-point that got hit by one of the neighbors and never recovered. So we'll see if he comes back around. Not a deer I know, but that's it. And then does. I got to put a couple does in the freezer for summer sausage and jerky and that kind of stuff too. So
Get a big one. Still at the
yeah,
white tie at 128.
is
So
it
we need to
128? I know.
get a digital scale
Dude,
next
I
year, so
got.
it's not a tie.
Yeah, I think the digital scale should be what Santa brings you for Christmas. I think that'd be a
Put
good
it on
one.
the list.
Yep. So, all right. Well, thank you
Okay.
everyone for
Yeah,
tuning
thank
in.
you.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Be safe, shoot straight. Thanks again, Caleb, and good luck the rest of the season to you, man.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, guys.